Hello and welcome back to the Trading Triangle. It's just me and Kay. No Nick
Isn't
this week, so we're going to hold the reins and see what's going to happen. So yeah,
isn't
welcome
that
back to another
different
episode.
today? I'm saying, isn't that different today? Like, it's a trading triangle, but the one angle is not there. So, let's get
With the
this
trading
rolling.
line today.
Trading line. Yeah, exactly. That's a good one.
So how are you, Kay? Doing well?
I'm doing great, man. I think past week was amazing in terms of trading. We saw a little bit of volatility, a lot of news events. I think the biggest one we're going to cover in today was regarding NVIDIA. And a lot of drama along Elon Musk that played out. We have a couple major events coming up. So yeah, I mean, it was a pretty nice week last week.
Yeah, you also had the Raw and Kitty live stream on Friday as well.
Oh yes, that was the biggest event I think out of all.
You can't forget about that.
Yes, that was the biggest one out of all. That is true.
Absolute madness. It's yeah. Anyway, so what we're going to do today is obviously go through our charts as normal, and obviously we're going to hit some audience requests. So go ahead and stick your requests in the comment section down below. I see we have Apple already, which is good. We'll stick that on the list, so we'll get to that after our charts, of course. Obviously, we are just two guys on the internet, so we're just having fun with the charts. Nothing as serious can be construed as this. So yeah, no financial advice, of course. I don't know, Kay, you can probably say it a little bit better, but yeah, this is just for entertainment purposes, which I'm sure you are full on laughing at the moment because I am not Nate, I am Sean. But yeah, what we'll do is we'll jump into the first slide, shall we?
Let's do that.
All right, here we go. So that is, hang on, see who I am. Gotcha. There we are.
So I'm just looking at this, man. Overall, I think NVIDIA was definitely the highlight last week. A lot of green across. Meta has been doing actually pretty well. I had actually one trade on Meta, went very well on that as well. Tesla has been dragging its feet for a while now. I know you will be covering Tesla coming up, but yeah, I think overall it was pretty good. Very muted though. Overall index, when you'll see the index ones on the next slide, it was pretty muted, but I think some stocks did very well specifically.
Yeah, it's been an interesting week. I didn't realize NVIDIA actually went up 7%. I thought that was quite surprising. But yeah, I mean, like you said, pretty muted. Meta doing pretty well. Tesla trading flat. Again, you said we'll cover that in a second. But yeah, not too bad. We've obviously got a few things coming up this week, and obviously we've got that noted down in the key events bottom left corner there. So we've got the Apple event obviously tomorrow on Monday. Then we've got CPI and a Fed rate decision on Wednesday, which is a very, very big day. So if you're trading around those times, do be careful. It's going to be very volatile. I know I probably won't be trading at all. I'm actually busy on the day anyway, which is kind of goes hand in hand for me. And obviously we have the Tesla annual meeting as well on Thursday. Kay, do you have any words about that?
Well, I think it will go in favor of Elon Musk, but we don't know what's going to happen after that. Will that again, be taken to the court? We don't know. So I don't think that's going to be the end of the drama for the pay package. I think that will continue. And then people were even anticipating, especially on CNBC's, like, does Elon Musk leave Tesla? I think it's definitely not. It's not improbable that he will not leave Tesla. And if that were to happen, I think there's going to be a lot of destruction in the wealth creation for a lot of folks. But I really hope that doesn't go to that far, and we are okay with that. But as you can see on the fear to greed index, 0.76, it was 0.77. So sorry, put to call was 0.77, and now it's 0.76. We are neutral, so kind of a lot of events next week. We'll see how that plays out. As you can see, SPY QQQ was pretty muted, I would say, 1%.
A little bit bullish, isn't it? A little bit bullish on the upside, and we'll see that in the charts in the next couple of slides. So yeah, but IWM is one of those, really, isn't it? That's really taken a bit of a hit. Maybe we could do a chart on that next week or whenever we come back. But,
yeah. So IWM, remember the $200 level was the key level, and now it's almost there to 201. And I really believe that if it dips below 200, I guess, I don't know, we'll get interested back in IWM.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Again, we'll cover that maybe on after the live stream, or even just as our own request later on when we go through the charts, perhaps. So I think there's an interesting wedge happening there as well, which I've seen on X. Let's move on to the earnings for next week. Not a lot really going on. I know, Kay, you'll probably be looking at Oracle and Adobe, but nothing from me for this week.
Yeah, same here. I mean, you do have Broadcom though. That's one other piece on Wednesday after close.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that's pretty much. It's pretty. It's the end of the season. Give another 2-3 weeks, and then we'll be in July, and that's when the earnings season picks back up again.
Yeah, the banks will roll through again, won't they? So I'm looking forward to that one. So yeah, let's jump into the chart, shall we? This is the SPY chart. I'll take it off, I think, from here, if that's okay, Kay, with you.
Please do.
Okay, Kay? Yes, okay, Kay, that works.
Okay, yeah.
So SPY, what do we see here? We see good bullish momentum, a bit of a bounce here on the right side. I think I might just enlarge it slightly so you can better see that. Good momentum bouncing off this 524 level, moving up towards this kind of new high that it created on Friday. So obviously new all-time highs and a big rejection off of that, really. One thing I've noted on this chart is this kind of yellow line here and this yellow line here, which is the RSI divergence. Now, okay, I'm not too sure if you look at this. I'm not too sure if you look at this indicator too much, but I do. I like it. It's basically a trend reversal indicator for me. So obviously, price action is going upwards, but the momentum is actually coming down. So there's not so much interest, shall we say, in that particular move. So you might see this, turn and change the trend and come back downwards. But I'm not too sure if that's too current with indices, the basket stocks, should we say. What are your thoughts on this?
So I think I don't use this indicator, but definitely looks like I should be looking at it. If you see the last candle, this is a daily candle, right? So the last one is what, like almost a doji candle, right? So kind of an indecision in the market. And generally, the summer months are slow months in the market anyways. So we could see some kind of like a stagnation or side, bar coding, as we say it. So I wouldn't be surprised if we are actually trading between the 524 and 531 range. And if that were to happen, and there are a couple events, I don't think there's gonna be interest rate hike, and that's what really matters at this point in time. I think the CPI data, inflation comes out, as long as it's not too hot of a data, that kind of drives a little bit more hawkish tone. I don't think interest rate hike will happen, but we could definitely see some kind of a hawkish tone. But then I think the other events are big events, like the AI event from the WWDC event from Apple and the Elon Musk drama. I think those are going to play a critical role. And we'll also see how NVIDIA behaves after the split from Monday.
Yeah, I think your point on it traveling sideways, given these kind of data that's coming out, is a valid one. One thing I would say is actually Jerome Powell has actually come out in the last two meetings quite dovish. So it'd be interesting to see if he comes out dovish again for a third time in a row, or if he comes out a bit hawkish. But yeah, we'll see what happens for sure. For SPY, should we move on to the QQQ?
Yeah, and just one data point I want to add here. From a put to call ratio on 614, it's 4.06. So generally a lot more hedging is happening. Now, I guess that's also due to the fact that you have a Fed decision, this week, and that's generally always the case.
Awesome. And then we've got the QQQ as well, breaking out again of this most recent high that's been set probably middle of May, about 460 liners. We got that there, and it broke through on Wednesday. As you can see, nice big candle, big momentum there. Not too sure what the catalyst for that was. I didn't see a report coming out then. But yeah, nonetheless, good price action. It seems to be staying just above that as well, above the 460 line. For me, I think a good kind of retracement back to 447 would be good. Obviously, I know it does break down the 20 moving average, but yeah, that's my kind of thoughts on the chart immediately, is it could actually turn around and given the data. If not, it could take off and perhaps make the 460 the new base.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely want to watch how it plays out this week to kind of see the trend. And QQQ is actually a little bit more bullish on the put to call. It's only 1.52 versus 4 point something on the SPY. The reason you saw QQQ going especially bullish, and if you see all the stock performance from especially Magnificent 7, Meta performed very well, Apple performed very well, Amazon performed very well, barring Tesla. Nvidia performed very well. That has really helped the QQQ to pull up.
Yeah, no, I agree. Be interesting to see what happens with the big data points coming out this week.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess we'll jump onto my chart straight away, shall we? I'm just going to
Let's
send
do
out
this.
a quick,
Tesla. This is the one we want to talk about.
This is Tesla. So you can see recently the price action here where my mouse is trading really, really tightly. Now, I was going to bring up the ATR, which is the average true range, which looks a bit similar to the RSI, which produces a line. And what it is basically, for example, this day is quite a large range. So the line down here would be quite dramatic, it'd be quite large, whereas obviously these bars are obviously a lot smaller within range, so then it kind of moves downwards. And typically with an ATR line, you get a good, big kind of range at the beginning, and it kind of calms down, and then boom, straight again, nice big range. And this could be what we're kind of seeing with Tesla at the moment. Whoops, I keep doing that. I'm not used to being in charge of the charts.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go. And we can see possibly a breakout here to the upside through this trend line that I've drawn. It's a bit of a shorter term trend line, but doesn't mean to say it won't work. And what I want to see is basically a break of this trend line, possibly a retest. If not, that's okay. It is Tesla. They sometimes, if it does break, specific points, it will break it in a very vicious way, a very aggressive, very volatile way, perhaps. So I'm looking for 210 if that was to kind of be happening. And we've got plenty of support underneath if that was to break out. So if it was to break out here, we've got the 20, the 50, the trend line, and the volume profile here. Just underneath at this kind of 180 level. So it'd be a nice trade from 180 to 210, just over 10%, of course. And obviously, if not, then if we break this 50 moving average, which has held up quite nicely in the last couple of weeks, I think 140, 147, that kind of range is back in play. What are your thoughts on Tesla at the moment, Kay?
So the funny thing, we talk about Tesla. Actually, I'm currently in a trade in Tesla. I have a 180 strike price to get into the stock. And it's been there for, I would say, about 2 months or so now. So it has been holding out very well. I think this particular range between 170 and 178 or so. I think this is now a news-driven stock price right now, or event. As we get more, closer to the Elon Musk annual meeting, we'll see how that plays out, and that could be a catalyst if it goes in the right direction. That could be the catalyst that you're talking about to go back and break the 200 mark. Because after this event, the next big event is going to be the 8/8, right? That's when they announce the robotaxi. So this is going to be the first catalyst. And if it goes in the right direction, we could see an upswing. But if it goes in the other direction, and we could see a dip or a gap down in the stock. So we have to be, prepared for both scenarios.
Yeah, no, you've also got earnings as well, which are kind of around this area. Obviously, haven't been released just yet, but it will be before 8/8. So there's another kind of catalyst there as well. Obviously, there's a company performing well. And where's that event again? Thursday, is that right? You said?
Yeah, it's a Thursday. Yeah, and
yes. Definitely be tuning into that one. Awesome. That's it for me for Tesla. Should we move on to the next chart?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Well, if I could do that, that'd be great. There we go. Now we have Etsy up next. Now I don't really cover this stock. I don't think I've actually brought it up at all on the trading triangle. And we can see clearly what I'm looking for. We've got this big kind of trend line coming down here. Been kind of big rejection off of that recently. What's that? Beginning of May, end of April. Really dropped down there, obviously because of earnings. You can see that down the bottom there. But we're just kind of peeking through it and actually kind of holding just above it. In recent trading days, and I've actually entered this as a trade, so you can obviously follow me on X to see how it plays out. I'm pretty good at kind of tracking the trades and obviously monitoring them with the risk management. So obviously I'm looking for a move up to 69.50 first of all, and I probably won't take profit there just because I want it to kind of move up to kind of this 80 level, maybe 78, depending on what the stock is doing at the time. So my trade idea is 65 to 80, but I would like it to break through 69.50, retest it, and then move higher. That would be the ideal scenario, in which case I would move my stop loss up to this area, probably 68 or so. Currently, my stop loss is obviously just below all of the support. You've got the trend line, you've got the 2-moving averages. So I think it's around about 61, I believe, off the top of my head. So it's a nice chart. Obviously, RSI is looking pretty good as well. The last 2 earnings, not so great, of course, but I'm just looking at, from a technical point of view, looks like a pretty good break of a trend line. And I'm in this. I'm in for this one.
Okay. So I don't trade Etsy, but I do have I do follow the stock, and I think one of the reasons Etsy is having these. So Etsy is at a point where Etsy is trying to figure out what Etsy should be. Is it Etsy and Amazon, or is it Etsy what it originally was meant to be? So Etsy was originally meant to be a marketplace for handmade products. But with the advent of print on demand and other, kind of drop shipping, what has happened is there's been just a lot of sellers on Etsy platform. I think the sellers, there was actually a report on CNBC. They did an entire segment on Etsy, like 12, 13 minute segment. And I think that the crux of that entire segment was Etsy's trying to figure out what they should be. Is this just going to be an Amazon? So I think that is also reflected in the stock price. And because now you are trying to be like an Amazon and you have to compete, because it's all about profits, right? And it's also, some sellers are not very happy with Etsy. So that has been seen with a lot of sellers came out. And so Etsy is trying to kind of work through those problems. And I think from a long-term investment standpoint, I think as long as if you follow through and you keep a tab on it, see how things are progressing, could be an opportunity. But I agree with you on this one. This definitely looks like it. In my case, what I would like to see is this trend line that you have drawn. It should not break through that, because if it breaks, then you might see another decline. Is there like any catalyst event that's coming up for Etsy anytime soon?
Not that I could see. No, not that I could see. No, just purely looking at the chart on this one. But I agree, if it breaks down through those supports, I think it's another downside, definitely.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting. I think definitely one to watch. I had actually a proper point to make there, but I can't remember what I was going to say. Anyway, doesn't matter too much. But we'll move on, shall we?
Yeah.
So obviously you can follow me over on X. I'm pretty active on there at the moment. I'm posting a lot about NEO. So if you're into that kind of stuff, which I'm probably sure you are, if you're following me, then go ahead and follow me over there. I do a thread every Monday as well, which is part of the process. On YouTube, I'm looking to go live a little bit more in the coming months, more about trade ideas, finding opportunities, etc. And obviously, you can follow me here over on the Substack as well. That's it for me. I'm going to hand you over to KAYE.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. So this one, the first one is this Intel?
This is NVIDIA.
This is NVIDIA. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. I'm forgetting. So pretty much, I think as everybody knows, NVIDIA announced a stock split. And if you held the stock by Friday close, you would be eligible for the stock split. So starting Monday, tomorrow, you'll have a 10-to-1 split. So it stopped at 1208. So it's going to be about $120.88. Now I haven't done a full video on NVIDIA stock analysis. And it's live on my channel, so you can definitely go check it out. So I'm not going to spend too much time on NVIDIA. But what I will say from this trend point, there are a lot of gaps between the range of 765 to 865. And it's not drawn here because of the Fibonacci. And then we had those gap ups after the announcement. So I wouldn't be surprised that after the split happens on Monday and starts trading post-split, we may see that gap fill, or we may even see continued run depending upon a FOMO. So at this point of time, I will not touch NVIDIA until we see a trend stabilizing. And the problem with NVIDIA is it's one of the hottest stock in the market. When it comes to AI, everybody knows NVIDIA. And that is the reason why I would wait and watch. So I laid out 2 scenarios in my video. So definitely you can go check it out. Those 2 scenarios and how to add to your position or how to take a trade position for NVIDIA based on the scenario.
I think as well, the RSI is quite hot as well. It's hot. It came back down. It went back into the hot section for RSI. This one for me has been so frustrating because 2 years ago I thought, okay, right, I'll leave it for a bit, wait for it to come down a bit. As you know, the kind of standard investor mentality, and then it went up 100%. And then I think, oh, okay, I'll wait for a pullback and all that. Then it went up again. So I've never got into it. And I probably never will at this rate, which is a bit frustrating, but that's how it goes sometimes as an investor. But I'm really happy for the people that are making money and, reaping the rewards in the last basically 3 or 4 years, isn't it? But yeah, looking at the chart, we can see, obviously, you've got the gap fill, as you mentioned. I think just a normal general kind of calm down to that 20 moving average would be what I would like to see. So similar to kind of what you were saying about kind of relaxing a little bit, and you might see that with the split, as you mentioned. But typically with splits, you tend to get a bit of FOMO as well, like you said. With the 10 to 1, obviously it looks cheaper, so people might buy it, pick it up. Oh, Nvidia is pretty cheap at the moment, but that could be short-lived. That could easily be sold off pretty quickly.
Yeah. I think Sebastian has the same point. I think, as Sebastian also mentioned, that it will drop, everything is baked in. That's exactly the point here. It's we had almost $200, $300, $265 added right after the split was announced on earnings. So Nvidia had already run up before earnings, and it ran another $300 from there. So there's a lot baked in. There's a lot of excitement, but I don't know. I wouldn't call it bubble yet, but I would definitely say it's elevated at these levels. And you don't start and you don't. Well, technically, you shouldn't be starting a position at a 52-week high.
No.
That's just how I don't. Whether I'm trading or investing, I don't trade stocks that are at 52-week highs. That just doesn't make sense. And if it goes up another 100%, which is fine, right? You would be wrong maybe once or twice, because not every stock which is trading at 52-week high will go another 100% from there. Those are rare scenarios. So don't worry about rare scenarios. Try to get the 80% of the trades or investing right.
Yeah, no, I agree. This area here as well is quite appealing. 930. That's what I'd be looking for, definitely.
So if you are if you're really looking into Nvidia, I think if you watch my video, I laid out the range over there, and I can tell you the range. It's actually 765 to 865. That's the range where this is trading, and it just ran up from there after the earnings. So that is the range where you should watch. Sorry, 86 to 94. That's the one. 860 to 965. That's the range. That's where post split you can probably start to nibble away.
No, it's exciting. I think I'll be keeping my eye on this one for the long term, if it was to turn downwards, of course. Should we move on to the next stock for you?
Yes. The next one is actually a good trading opportunity. It's also in semiconductors. So this is Intel. We have not touched Intel in a while now, because Intel was on a uptrend. And but now if you see, Intel hit the $30 mark, and it's starting to look again interesting. Why? Because Intel's, I think, CEO, I forget his name, what his name is. He recently did a announcement about how they are getting into the GPU and they'll be competing against NVIDIA and so on and so forth. But apart from that, interestingly, if you see the chart at the 29 or let's say $30 level, you have a major volume shelf, and that's like a critical level for Intel, and that has been a level for a while now in Intel. So. And then if I drew this trend line, and you can see that it's getting into this wedge. So as it gets closer, we might see a run up, and that gap down that we had, we may be able to see that gap fill. And whether you think Intel can compete with NVIDIA or not, that's up for debate. But at least from a news standpoint and technical standpoint, that could be a upswing trade that you can play with.
I remember making a trade on this one probably about a year ago, maybe slightly longer, maybe from 30 to 34, and I was chuffed with myself. And then it did all of this, which I thought was quite incredible. So obviously I missed out on the gains just there. But yeah, no, I completely agree. The point we made about taking customers away from NVIDIA might be tough, I think, especially given the hype around NVIDIA's basically a rock star at the moment, isn't it? Did you see what Jensen Huang did the other day, signing the T-shirt of a woman?
No,
should we say?
What happened?
Well, he basically autographed, a bit like a football player does, but autographed a woman's bra. Should we say? Did you not see that?
I did not. I'll go back and check it out. But that's amazing.
Yeah, modern day rock stars, eh? You don't need guitars to be cool anymore.
I mean,
need stocks.
I did watch a video of Jensen Huang that's like a pretty old video, maybe like 10 years ago. And he talked about how Intel was, considering NVIDIA to be a competitor 10 years ago. Because there are two main pieces, right? For folks so your main processor is a CPU processor. That's where Intel dominates, right? And AMD dominates. GPU is focused more on the graphical side, and the CPU focus on computational side. So you cannot have a PC without computation, right? So you need that. But with the advent of graphic images and videos, GPU has really taken the front seat. And I think that's what Jensen Huang was alluding to, 10 years back, how GPU is going to be the next growth cycle. So GPU cannot operate in isolation. They need a CPU. That's where Intel is still pretty dominant along with AMD. But I do believe that from a stock standpoint, I think NVIDIA, from a GPU standpoint, that's the biggest moat that they have. And out of the 10 GPUs produced, they produce 9 GPUs. So there you go. That's your moat for the company. It's very good. It's very difficult to beat NVIDIA at their game. It's going to take a while. It's not a 1, 2, 3 quarter game. It's probably a couple of years.
And I think with that knowledge you've just produced there, I think that just puts in perspective of how well NVIDIA is really doing, doesn't it? The power that they have within the market. But yeah, going back to the chart, obviously I never gave my thoughts actually on the chart. I like the wedge that you've drawn here. I think it looks a bit more of like a negative wedge to me personally, just because of the actual overall trend. So perhaps I would actually be looking for it to break below the 2980 level, and obviously make a move lower. I'd probably have to look back into the stock's past to see what level I'd be aiming for. But I probably wouldn't be trading this to the upside. But like you said, obviously the gap fill is one to watch if I was to trade it to the upside. But yeah, no, I really like the chart. It's pretty good.
Cool. So yeah, so that's it. And I think we have a couple requests. We'll take those then after this.
Yep, I'm trying to function.
All right. So yeah, so usual stuff, Twitter, I am there. Video on YouTube, I just posted an NVIDIA buy or wait. Check that out. I do a full thorough analysis on that. I provide 2 scenarios. So that's something. On Substack, I've been starting to write now. The latest article was on the UiPath, why we had a big drop. So you can check that out as well. And with that, let's do the audience request.
Awesome. Yeah, let me just get that set up on the other screen here.
So we have, I can tell you which ones we have. We have Apple, we have Hood, we have TOST. Which one is that? I have never seen it.
I think that's that Toast.
Toast, okay. Is that like a oh, I know. Okay. And then we have LSPD. What is LSPD?
Okay, you're gonna have to go one at a time. Here
okay,
we go.
So let's start with
ready
Apple.
to go.
Okay, Apple. Beautiful. Okay.
Apple. Here we go. So we can immediately see it's looking like it's going to be pushing towards all-time highs.
199.10 is your all-time high.
199.10, did you say?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's stick that in, shall we? So we've got that there. We've got the event tomorrow as well. That would be a good catalyst if it was to produce something around AI. I think that would probably push it through that. It's just whether we kind of maybe not hold it, basically. Wouldn't you agree?
I 100% agree. I think there is not much room on the upside yet. Depends on what so from an announcement standpoint, you won't see the announcement from a device standpoint. You'll see the announcement from more on the code, more on the software side of the shop. But it will, I think, tell us how they're going to compete with AI. And as you said, can it break 199? Absolutely. Will it stay there? That's the problem. And with Apple have run up so much. So again, Apple, if you zoom out a little bit, Apple did create a gap up.
Are you talking about the daily here?
Daily, from 173 going all the way to 180. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised that it runs up, makes a new all-time high, and then sells off, and then starts to come back in that range.
In this range here, that's quite a drop, Kay.
I mean, it could happen because the next event, of course, barring the earnings, the next event is going to be the September one when they do the whole lineup on products.
Yeah, no, true. So that's a 12, almost 13% drop to that gap fill from the high line.
Yeah, because tell me one thing, what has Apple done? Like, they are behind the 8-ball on AI, right? They haven't done anything. Their Vision Pro that they launched had a very lukewarm response. People started returning that. So what is the run up? So I think the run up that has happened recently is because of the anticipation on on how they're going to perform or how they're going to launch the AI. So do we have a lot of upside? I don't know. Nothing. They're not innovative in selling. Yeah, see, so Sebastian says the same thing, right? They're not innovating. And so Apple is the biggest position in my portfolio. So I'm happy if it runs up, but I'm also seeing that it may hit an all-time high, make an all-time high and come down. And I'm happy actually it comes down because they haven't really done anything lately.
Yeah. But I think one thing that you would say about Apple is that when they do something, they do it very well. So with the phone, obviously they changed basically society with the phone. The AirPods, it's a really good product. I'm literally wearing one right now.
Yeah.
The Vision Pro, obviously they did the Quest and all various VR, AR headsets. And they've obviously released the Vision Pro. It's not quite what people want just yet, but you can kind of see where they're going with it. I think it's going to be a very impressive product in 4 to 5 years. At least that's how I view it. So you know that when they do something, they just do it very, very well. So I'm interested to see basically how well Apple was going to do AI. Yeah. Should we move on to the next stop? We spent quite a lot of time on Apple now.
Yeah.
Which one was next? Hood?
Next is Hood.
Robinhood. Here we go.
Yeah.
So this one's run up quite nicely. You can see some old lines that I drew back here, which is probably an old trade, which is nice to see. It's accelerated nicely from there. Bit of a topping tail here on Friday, bit of selling off perhaps. I probably should zoom in actually so people can see properly. But yeah, a bit of a topping tail. So where obviously the candle was fully actually kind of on my screen white, and let's say green for the purpose of the chart. So fully green up here, and obviously pushed right back down, throughout the day, and actually ended red. So that's quite alarming. Perhaps what are your thoughts on that one? Perhaps maybe a move back down to 2050-ish.
I think so too. Funny thing, I actually have a covered call position on Hood, and I'm in the negative because my covered call was 21 and it is 20. No, mine is 20 actually, and it's 22. So I'm pretty much in red. But interestingly, I think what you should really see, the put to call ratio is very, very bullish on Hood. For next week, it's 0.45 with a volatility of 76-77%. That's one. And then June 21st, which is going to be the quad witching day, that is when you have 407,000 open interest with 261 on the call side and 146 on the put side. And that has a volatility of also 68%. So right now, if you're playing options on Hood, I think you definitely are getting premium. If you're buying, you're giving a lot more premium. If you're selling, you're getting a lot more premium. So
awesome.
Also, if you think about it, right, I think the reason Hood also became like with the whole Roaring Kitty and GME,
yeah, exactly.
I think that has also helped with this big run up right now.
The transactions fees, they all add up, don't they? Yeah, I think Sebastian's point there, it's very nice for day trading. You can see the intraday moves. This is the hourly chart. The intraday moves are quite large. We're talking like half a dollar here. So yeah, you can definitely make a lot of money on that.
Yeah.
Well, here on the hourly chart, there's like a little bit of support perhaps on the 20-minute average. Anyway, let's move on to the next chart. We've got Toast next, haven't we? So
yes, TOST.
I don't know anything about this chart, so I'm going to kick it off to you straight away. I'm going to move to the daily for you.
Okay. So, okay, wow. So that definitely seems like a topping.
Bit of a topping tail. We've got a bit of basically a sell-off really from up here. So perhaps a nice little range might be forming.
And earning was pretty long time back. It was in May, so it's not the earning. So let me just pull up
7th of May. It's
let me see what's the latest news on it. So could unlock value.
Missed on EPS and beat on revenue.
cuts to. Okay, so I think on May 21, we had one of the analysts cut the ratings to neutral from strong year-to-date rally. So I think that definitely is. One was 21, so that was okay. Yeah, so that's right. So you see the strong candle that on the last on the 521, that the big red candle is because of the rating
this
cut,
one.
I guess. Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Um,
see. That will do it, won't it?
yeah, but I still see a pretty buy and strong buy rating on this stock.
That's interesting. Maybe this line is one of those to look for then at 2160.
Yeah, you would want to see
Obviously,
if it
the
holds
bounce
or
there.
not, right? And if
Exactly.
we do and there's actually a lot of volume over there too. They did break down. So let me see if I draw a Fibonacci here on this one.
See where the volume is if we zoom out a bit.
So I would definitely target the 2222. I definitely want to see that it holds. If not, then you're looking at 2063 on the Fibonacci level. So
Which is
the current
dark here.
2222 has to hold, because the last time it dipped slightly below that and it just ran back up. That was back in mid-April. So if we can see a similar pattern where it just bounces off this level and goes back up, otherwise we could see a drop, and the next support will be the 2063 level.
Interesting. I've also got this level here of about 1990, just by looking at the chart.
Okay.
So if you can probably break down, the trade opportunity in this really is a bounce off of this level with a fairly tight stop, maybe just above, maybe here-ish, 2120. Fairly tight stop for a bounce, and then probably just play it back up to moving averages and take the profit there and move on. Just cut up from the trade, move on to the next one, etc. That's how I would probably play it. If not, you can play it to the downside, but it's a little bit more risky because, like you say, you've got these levels down here. Not that one, specifically this one for a bounce, and 1990 for a bounce. But yeah, I mean, interesting. You can probably DCA for a longer swing trade as well. So that's a good way of looking at it. But that's toast.
Yeah.
We'll move on to LSPD. Is that right?
Yeah, LSPD.
I've never even heard of this one either. Lightspeed Commerce. What do they do, Kay? Do you know them?
Yeah, let me pull it up. I'll tell you what they do. They are.
I like the setup here, though.
They engage in sale of cloud-based software subscription and payment solution for single and multi-location retail restaurants, golf courses. Okay, interesting.
They sound mildly boring, but I'll take it.
So this is basically a B2B kind of a business.
Okay,
and
right, yeah.
So they provide solution for these kind of companies, on the payment side. That's my high level, quick understanding of LSPD.
So I'm immediately thinking I might enter this trade in this very, very small position initially, just because of this potential move here. We've got a nice kind of hold of this line here of 1460. We've got a couple of resistance points back here, early parts of the year. A few support bounces around this level. It's more of a zone than it is a line. So perhaps I could draw another line in there. So this could potentially be your buy zone. But it looks like that could be coming out of there now because the moving averages come up, and obviously we're above the 50 as well. I've also got a volume profile here on the right side. But honestly, just a move straight up to here, because there's not really much price action in the way of moving back up to kind of 1950 level where the gap fill is, as you can see in the top left corner there. So that'd be an interesting move. Obviously, you might take some on the way up, which is fair enough. Maybe if we can zoom out, then the volume profile will readjust on the right side. Yeah, there you go. So maybe a little bit here at the 1650 level. So you could probably take some profit there and maybe let the rest run, of course, if it was to move up higher there. So this was definitely on my watch list. But what about UK?
So I think if you actually add the 200-day line over there, you will notice that the stock got rejected at the 200 level. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh yeah, I don't have the 200 on my line.
Yeah. So
my chart, sorry.
Yeah, so that could be so that changes the game, right?
It does, yeah.
So that's something that, and 200 is a long-term trend. So you would definitely want to see it break above that. And if it's a clean break and it maintains that, that's when I would enter a trade on this one. Otherwise, you can still play this one, but make sure the 200-day, you might want to maybe day trade it rather than swing trade it.
Yeah, that's an interesting call. I mean, on a higher risk kind of note, you could, do what I just said there, and enter here. Then you could, on a very small position, wait for it to break that, and if it does successfully break it, come back down, retest it. You can add another position, obviously make another move higher. But what you're saying, Kay, I think, is if it breaks through here, you're waiting for it to break through there first, and then enter a position perhaps around here higher.
Because that's a pretty big run, right? From
it is
16 to 1950. That's like a $3.50. That's a big run.
Yes, it's possible though, judging by look at the way the stock has moved in the past.
Correct.
With these big moves here on the left side. But yeah, one to watch. I've definitely written that one down. So thank you, Sebastian, for noting that one. We do appreciate it. What's next, okay?
Next up is AEHR. Okay.
In all the new changes today.
I feel like Sebastian is definitely bringing some stocks that I've never heard of. So definitely adding it into the
AEHR test systems.
So what they do is they provide test solution for testing, burning in, and semiconductor devices in waterfall, singulated die, and package part. So half of things I do not understand. But seems like it's definitely in the semiconductor space. And right now, I'll give you a little bit of a background so you'll have the understanding. They reported earnings on 4/9. Their EPS came in line. They missed the revenue by $45,000. So definitely not much. Their earnings is pretty spotty. They miss, they often here and there. They have a revenue estimate for so earnings is coming up for this company on 7/12. So maybe in another month time. Their revenue is about $15 million. That's the expected, and they have a 2 down revision. From a rating standpoint, Wall Street has a hold rating on this. And yeah, that's the background on this company.
Yeah, so from a chart perspective, there's not a huge amount going on. I did actually originally switch out to the weekly chart, as you can see here, and it's really quite ugly, to be honest with you. But you've got a bit of a trend line here, higher high on a very longer term. I don't really follow that too much, just because I think with a lot can happen in a company in the space of a year and a half, as I'm sure you're aware. But on a shorter term, if we dive into the daily here, give it some time to load up. I think a play back up to this kind of 200 moving average if you're prepared for all the volatility in the middle. The stock moves around quite a bit, and obviously being a slightly smaller stock, you do have that kind of volatile aspect to it. But definitely one you could make money in. Perhaps if you can break through this gap fill first and then move up higher to 17. Even that move alone is probably about 20%, I think, off the top of my head. Let's go ahead. Yeah, look at that, almost 20%. So yeah, there's potential there, but it's not one that I'd be looking at personally to trade.
Do you think it's topping, Shaun?
Topping?
Yeah, the see there's a turnaround at the last candle on the daily. I feel like that's
yeah, I mean there is, but I would still like the moving averages to come up behind that, even with that candle. This could be even a bit of momentum. You can see the volume. If I can zoom in a bit more, so you might be able to see the volume bars at the bottom here. They're raising quite nicely. I mean, it's tripled within 2 days. So perhaps a bit of a momentum play.
And helping with the gap fill also.
Exactly, yeah. The gap fill obviously being here up at 1447. Recent news here. Just some general things, I think. Yeah, nothing too cemented. But yeah, I mean, a potential momentum play for this one.
Okay, cool. And I think the last one that we have is Dell.
Still, I think I saw Palantir somewhere in there as well.
Palantir, okay, let me see.
We'll do Dell first, and then we'll finish up on Palantir, because we are actually moving on towards the 3/4 of an hour mark now, which is exciting. So Dell, we can see immediately I've actually already got a line drawn at 131. I covered this earnings a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, we saw that earnings reaction here, not so great, but it has ridden up quite a lot because of this, obviously, NVIDIA basically partnership. Would you agree there? Okay.
Yeah, funny thing, I did notice it, but I don't track Dell. And I know that you did the earnings for Dell. How did that perform? Or how was the earnings in general for Dell?
I think it was good. It was slightly expected. Kind of said the normal sorts of things. I think for me personally, it was just basically a reaction to, oh, okay, so it's not the best stock in the world. So I think it sold off all the hype, related to NVIDIA. So basically, this move is all related to NVIDIA, in my opinion. Just kind of following it along, kind of same basket, same exciting basket, bit of FOMO in there as well. So this is a bit more of a reality sort of thing happening for Dell, and this, for me personally, is a good point to get in if you were going, for a longer term position. Probably not so much a trade unless it was a swing trade. To go long here, maybe back up to the highs over the next kind of 5 to 6 months of 180. But again, that would be a bit risky for me. The trade I would like to see, I know I'm just keep talking, but I'll let you talk in a minute.
No, go for it. I don't track Dell, so you're more informed than me in this one.
Okay, if we break this 131 level, I'd be looking for it to kind of, fill this gap here. And what we have here is quite exciting. So we've got a gap fill, and we've got the 200 moving average climbing in there with that red line there. So there's 2 points of confluence to aim for, if that makes sense. So there's 2 sets of targets to aim for at 94. And then you could probably bring that up to 100 as well, which is a kind of a clean, I don't know what percentage that is off the top of my head, a clean 20% or so. Wow. And that to me is a fair trade. What are your thoughts about that? It's a fairly normal move, isn't it?
I think we saw these kind of dips. We saw a similar dip with Salesforce as well. I would definitely be looking for the gap fill to happen. I don't track Dell, so I don't really have a good understanding on their financials. So let me pull that up in a second. So from an earnings standpoint, I mean, they do pretty well on the earnings, and they're bringing a good. The problem is that they bring the revenue just like sometimes they'll bring 1.5 billion, next time they'll bring 650 million, then they'll bring 2.10 billion. So that's very interesting. And then from a rating standpoint, we have a buy rating from Wall Street. It's actually very interesting. Maybe if we do see a further decline, and I would definitely look. I mean, that gap fill looks good. If that happens at 90, 100 level, I think might be a good opportunity for a long-term swing trade on this one.
Yeah, no, I agree. Put a gap fill above as well. So that's Dell. We'll move on to the last stock, shall we, on Palantir.
Yes, I have some thoughts about that. I have some questions actually for you.
Go for it. Fire away.
So last time when we guys were talking Palantir, I don't remember whether you were presenting it or we had an audience request. And so I asked you guys, what do you think is a good price point to enter? And Nate mentioned that 20 would be a good price point to enter. So now we saw this, again, big run up on Palantir. So I missed my chance. I don't want to get in at 24 or 23. How do you see this playing out? Do you think it's going to, if we draw the trend line from there, they have not been able to hold up these levels. It shoots up and then it starts to go down.
Yeah, I mean, this one could be seen as a bit of a extended bull flag. So let me just kind of draw that out for you.
Oh, I see what you're talking about. Yeah,
really big kind of push here back in February. Obviously, probably related to earnings. But I think that's 6 or 7 quarters in a row now for Palantir, which is gap profitable, which is quite outstanding. They did an AIP-Con, which is their AI platform for kind of commerce. Actually, it's not quite breaking out just yet, as you can see on the screen. So I would be going back to the daily chart here. So let me just play around with the chart. So I'd be looking for this breakout of this potential bull flag that we've kind of set here. And that's where I'd enter for a trade. I probably wouldn't enter for the long term. I mean, you could, but I probably wouldn't be adding to position just there. I like to, a bit like yourself, I think, with the long-term positions, I like it to hit support rather than a bullish setup to the upside. But, from a trading point of view, with a trading triangle, so we're here to trade. If we break through this kind of trend line, come back down and retest it, I would be looking for that move at least back to 25.36, as you can see on the screen there. And if we successfully break that, then obviously the next high would obviously be around about that 27.50 line. So yeah, there's plenty of money to be made with this potential trade as well. So we've got, if we were to come back down to the trend line there, you've got 6%. I might just drag that up again. And then we've got 15%. So you've got 2 potential take profit zones here for that. And obviously keep a nice tight stop loss just below the trend line here would be my I kind of went off there a little bit. But yeah, Palantir does excite me. It's definitely a company for the future. They missed out on the S&P 500, I think, on Friday, which was one of those things that they were hoping for at the turn of the year, obviously being halfway through the year, a bit of rebalancing. I know CrowdStrike.
They got into S&P 500, yes.
Perhaps they nipped the position instead of Palantir there. So there's a little bit of decline, I think, on the after hours of Palantir. So you might expect this to come back down, maybe even towards the bottom of the channel if it's really bad news. But I think looking for that $20 level really is the way to go. And I've got a lot of lines drawn here, so I want to just take them away.
so $20 is what I am targeting for a long-term position to initiate the position. But if you're saying if you're going for a short-term trade, then that's the level that you would target to for the upside.
Exactly right.
Okay,
yeah, exactly right. And I think that's it. That's the end of the charts. Thank you very much for all of your requests. I think most of them, if not all of them, came from Sebastian, one of our most loyal viewers, and we really do appreciate you. And we hope you obviously have a very good week in the market. Yeah, I think from me, closing thoughts, I think this has been exciting, just the two of us this week. Obviously we do heavily miss Nate, and I think we did okay. We did him justice. So yeah, but for me this week I'll be trading, taking a seat back, and obviously we've got lots of big reports. We've got 2 big events with Apple and with Tesla as well, so I've got to be taking a step back is what I've been trying to say this whole time. Taking a step back, and I'm going away to Germany at the end of the month, at the end of the week as well. So yeah, Kay, I'm going to hand it over to you because that was a mess. For those final thoughts for me were a mess. Can you do any better than that?
No. So I think we did well. Our host was not here today, so definitely we are not used to hosting. So we definitely will improve upon it. Just a couple thoughts from next week's standpoint. I think there's just a lot of events happening next week. So if you are not day trading it on a daily basis, if you're swinging it, I would wait and watch, pick your tickers, intelligently. Especially a lot of these tickers like Nvidia and others, they are very overbought. So wait and watch and see how it plays out. Tesla could be another nice setup to play. And then from a channel standpoint, I know SHAUN is traveling next week. I'll be traveling the following week, and so we will be taking a hiatus for the next 2 weeks or so. But we plan to be back from the last week of June. So more to that, we will update on our Twitter as well. So definitely keep an eye over there as well. And with that, I wish you all happy trading and happy investing for next week.
Yeah, awesome. Take care, everyone.
Take care. Thank you, Sebastian. Thank you, everybody who joined. Take care.